Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another G Crypto video. I'm your host Seb, and in today's video I wanted to talk about a few tips that I have found have helped me out a lot, that I've sort of picked up recently, that have helped me get more wins in weekend ranked on Gods Unchained. Alright guys, like I said, welcome back to the video. So weekend ranked, I've talked about this before in previous videos, but weekend ranked is arguably the most important and definitely the best time to play Gods Unchained. The reason for that is because over the weekend, you're able to, based on your amount of wins, you're able to earn rewards in the form of packs that obviously get you new cards. And, you know, obviously the card game itself is fun, but part of the reason why we're here, secondary of course, but part of the reason why we're here is to get great cards and to get better decks and cards that are NFTs that are worth something, and hopefully, you know, be able to sell those someday and maybe make money playing a game that we like to play. But in order to do that, we need to win matches over weekend ranked, and weekend ranked is much more competitive than the game is during the week, and that's because all the players join in, they pull out their best decks, and it's tough. It's tough going. Pretty much every time I go into the weekend, I either maintain rank barely or I get knocked down a rank because I lose.
This whole week I've been getting my ass kicked.
But with that being said, I'm still able to get packs, still able to get rewards, even with, you know, my arguably meh record. I'm not a mythic player. I think the highest I've gotten so far is Auric Gold, but I really enjoy the game. I've been having a ton of fun, and these tips have helped me recently eke out more wins during weekend rank. If you find that you're enjoying this content, if you like this video at all, go down, like the video. It helps us out a lot, and we'd sincerely appreciate it. Now, on to the video. All right, guys, so my first tip for more weekend ranked wins is pick the right deck. Now, I know this sounds obviously terribly obvious, but I don't mean just, you know, get the best deck. What I really mean is know the meta. And by picking the right deck, I mean the right deck to counter the prevalent meta and the prevalent decks that you're going to run into over the course of weekend ranked. You can get to know the meta by going over to Gut Decks. It basically showcases what are the most common decks that are being played, their win percentages, all of the different matchups that have come against that particular deck. And you can even, if you're into this sort of thing, now I don't do it, I don't know, there's maybe a moral gray area here, but you can even look at your opponent, look up their name, look at the decks that they've been using. You can even see what decks they have in, or what cards rather they have in the specific deck that they might be playing you with. But knowing the meta and understanding like what the prevalent strategies are out there and how to then counter them is really important to racking up those few extra wins when you go into the weekend. For example, about 30% of all decks played on Gods Unchained are nature decks, and nature that are specifically geared towards a control. So knowing what the prevalent strategies are out there, what the prevalent decks are, is going to help you formulate a sort of counter strategy so that you can get more wins. But overall, knowing which decks you want to go into weekend ranked, building those out to counter the sort of prevalent meta is going to help you a lot. And the way that you can check those out is you go over to Gut Decks. There's another site, I forget the name, I'll put it somewhere here, but you can go to these sites, you can check out what the meta is, check out what's winning, what's popular, and you can build a deck that will effectively counter that strategy. And we might get more into specific deck builds in future videos. I think I just put out my aggro nature deck video, but I'll be getting more into specific deck builds that I've come across or that I like in subsequent videos. But moving on to tip number 2, this is a really important one, and one that I didn't understand until recently, which is to know how the sanctum and favor work in the game. Basically, you gain favor anytime you take a favor action, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. You gain 1 favor when you do any of these things on your first turn, you gain 2 on your second, 3 on your third, and then 3 on each subsequent turn. But there are a couple of different favor actions that earn you favor in the game. One of them is attacking your opponent's god. The other is to destroy an enemy creature outside of combat. So think with like something like Blood Ritual or your other god power, or with a spell. And the other way is if your creature survives an attack by an opponent's creature and your opponent's creature dies. So now that you understand how favor works, we can kind of talk about the sanctum. Now the sanctum is that thing obviously over on the right hand side of the interface, and you can pull cards from the sanctum as you gain favor. Each card has a different favor cost. Now there are 5 different types of decks in the sanctum that pull cards. You have defenders, answers, removal, threats, and value. Now defenders are what it sounds like, usually some kind of creature with frontline. A lot of times the the Shield Maiden will pop up or the Battle Oryx will pop up in there. Answers I'm not really too sure on. Like Valka's Discovery is one of the ones I think that you get with Answer. I haven't been able to pin down the exact theme of the Answers cards, but they're random. Removal is usually cards that do damage, so like your Rune of Fire or your Form of Renewal or Form of Power, I think it is. They're usually some kind of rune card, and they usually deal direct damage to other creatures. Then you have Value. Value, a lot of times the Seeing Stone comes up in there. It lets you like foresee things. I think the Healing rune is one of the ones that you get out of the Sanctum in Value. And finally, you have Threats. Threats I basically think are all the creatures. But those are the 5 different kinds of cards that you can get from the Sanctum. And when you pull from the Sanctum, it shows you what types of cards are coming up next. So for example, like if you have a Rune of Fire in the Sanctum and you want to get to that before your opponent, there's a couple of different things at play there. One, you have to make sure to figure out how you can get favor while denying your opponent favor. So for instance, you know, destroying a creature but with a spell, attacking their god, or just ensuring that the order in which you do things guarantees that your opponent isn't going to gain any favor. So that's why the Sanctum is so important, right? Like it matters because the order in which you do things guarantees that you get favor and maybe your opponent doesn't. It also lets you know like what cards are coming up next, and it gives you the opportunity to take and choose specific cards to help you in your strategy. Whether that's, you know, getting that Fire Rune so you can deal damage to a character, or whether that's, you know, say your opponent has a relic up and you don't have any relic removal cards in your deck, but you see that Wiccan Flanker, which will remove that 1 durability, coming up in the Sanctum. You can fight for that favor, get that Wiccan Flanker, get that relic removed, and, you know, make your game work for you. And those are the little things that make the difference when it comes to victory or defeat, especially at the higher tiers of play. Now, my third and final tip is board placement. Now this one again has a couple of different things at play, but first of all, it means the order of operations rather in which specific actions happen, and also where you put creatures on the field matters in terms of which chain of events is going to transpire when you make a play. So you need to know a couple of things here. One is the order of operations in terms of like different statuses and things like that happen in the game. So the order of operations in which statuses happen is thus. First, always, is burn. Now burn, you've probably seen it before if you've been playing the game for any amount of time. Basically it means that at the end of your turn, your creature loses 1 health because they're kind of on fire, right? So burn always happens first. After burn comes regen. Now this is tricky, and early on I did this a lot to myself, where I had a creature with regen and I brought them down to 1 health thinking that, oh, they'll just regen and then the burn will take that 1 away and they'll be back at 1. But burn happens first. So if you have a 2/2 Springbloom Hunter and then you bring that Springbloom Hunter down to 1 HP and they have burn, that burn takes place first, they drop to 0 and they're dead. The regen doesn't kick in until after burn. So it's burn, then regen, then things get a little tricky because things happen in order from left to right, starting on your opponent's side of the field. So again, from left to right, starting with your opponent, you have frenzied end of turn effects. Then you have end of turn effects. So again, this is really important because it happens from left to right. So if you have to make sure that certain things happen and chain of events take place in your favor. But order of operations matter. Placement of your creatures on the board matters. So make sure to read up on that, do some research, and figure out how, and when you place your creatures, make sure that you're doing it in the correct order so that the chain of events that you want to happen and the play that you want to happen works. I can't tell you how many times I screwed myself out of a victory because I didn't understand the order of operations and how end of turn things work. But that's it, you guys. Those are my top 3 tips for getting more wins in weekend rank. First of all, know which deck you're gonna go, know the meta, know the strategy that you're gonna have going into things. Again, take a look, see what's out there, see what's prevalent, and build a deck to counter the prevalent meta. Next is know how the Sanctum works, know how favor works in the game. Make sure that you're setting things up such that you get the most favor and you deny your opponent the most favor. And then third and finally is know end of turn operations order. Know that placement on the board of where you place creature does matter, and it can affect how your plays and how things happen in sequence when you end your turn. That's it though for me, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, do the thing. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, all the fun stuff. Make sure to comment down below. Let me know if you missed anything. Are there any other tips that you think I should have included? I might do a part 2 of this coming up, depending on how this video does. I would love to hit, something around even 15 to 20 likes on this video. Again, we're a new channel starting out, and I'm loving things. And the feedback so far has been pretty encouraging. Some people are loving this content. So if you like it, comment down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget to game it till you make it. See you later, guys. Bye.